Hey everyone, Rascal here.
And Mama, welcome to our channel and our World of Paws podcast.
In today's podcast, we're discussing the topic of self-inserts in media.
Now, self-inserts are nothing new. People have been doing it for decades in stories. However, with the recent push for young adult graphic novels to compete with manga, it's become obvious that most of these iterations are obvious self-inserts, and the key difference is one side wants to tell an amazing story as they happen to be the star, while the other wants to push an objective opinion and agenda as fact and not tell a story.
And before we start with that, be sure to like, subscribe, click notification buttons for future podcasts and World of Paws videos.
Absolutely, and thanks for joining us for this podcast today. We hope you enjoy it. We appreciate your support, and we really want to hear what you think about this topic as well.
Yes.
Tell us in the comments below.
Yes. So, we wanted to discuss this for a while because it's up there with reboots and adaptations and things on things people are not doing so well at recently here. And this is because
the West.
Right, at least in the West. And there was this little bit of a graphic novel boom they had for a little bit with DC. And mostly DC, they're the ones supplying these. And when lots of companies and bookstores saw that manga was dominating sales, especially My Hero Academia and Demon Slayer and Spy Family, they decided that the answer was to create graphic novel books, not just little sleeves of issues of comics or omnibus of comics. They were just going to create straight up graphic novels. And the tactic here was not to just create a graphic novel that was like a special story for this format. They would be rebooting different characters, and everybody who worked on it would have their own take on the character, meaning every single story was its own universe, its own take, and its own one-shots. So it was nothing but one-shots.
Absolutely. So I want to start with one big difference between the East versus the West. And we actually learned this a few years ago from a book on Hayao Miyazaki.
Yeah.
And he explained that when in Japan and China and Korea, when they do adaptations of anime or manga or manhwa, most of the time it's going to be different from what the initial product was, because it is customary for them to make a different story, to make adjustments, change characters, and so forth. Now, first for us that was really strange, because we were like wanting to see like a one-to-one of what we watch in live action or one-to-one what we read in an anime. But we learned that they, for example, MHA and Horikoshi adds anime-only scenes, and sometimes does a special episode that has nothing to do with the manga itself, and we understood more. And we've also noticed this being done with the Pokemon franchise, with movies on Netflix that are exclusive, like I Choose You, and the redoing of the story of Mew.
Mewtwo.
Yeah, Mewtwo. And we've learned that, okay, this is standard for them. However, when they do these changes, is not to focus on the mangaka themselves and their life and their opinions and their thoughts and things of that nature, is to give people a fresh story or a different take on what they know. And for them, they don't even like to make characters look exactly the same when they're doing an adaptation from a live action to an anime. For instance, with Supernatural, the anime series, when we watched the special features, they said that having the characters look just like Sam and Dean would be boring, so they look nothing like them.
Right. And we didn't understand that at first, really, because, like, isn't that the whole point? But no, they're supposed to look anime. If they look the same in animation, then it'd be like, what's the difference? It wouldn't look like it was something new. So, with the manga, here's what I can interesting about that as well. Sometimes you don't even catch on that every once in a while they put themselves in the story. And it's not like, okay, this is the mangaka and he put himself in its universe and he's some other job or anything like that. It's like you see parts of them in there, like some things that they love, or parts of their personality or their own preferences or their ideals and beliefs, and you see bits of them in there, or they're inspired by people around them and their family or friends and things, and they become characters. And it's like you see pieces of them there, or you can say, okay, this is the creator, but not directly, and it's pretty neat. Like, oh, so this is how you feel about this. This is how this person really is outside of their own story.
And that's fun.
Yes. And then you get to hear, it's incredibly obvious that when they redo a character, they look exactly
like the writer.
Yeah, and it's like, you just drew yourself. And if the person was writing about themselves specifically, it would be completely different. It's like, okay, it's their own story. But no, they're taking existing characters and then turning them into them. Yes. And they tell you that a bunch of times when they have interviews. They would turn them into them.
And that's not what you want most of the time. Now, before you say, but in the East, yes, they do that. But they make it, as Vasco said, all about themselves. For example, we've read a couple of books like my so-called mangaka life, and there's another one that I really loved, and for some reason it eludes me. Or it was only 3 volumes written about a male mangaka.
Yeah.
And it was so interesting and fun. And it's a story about their lives and their journeys as mangaka. That's fun.
Right.
You're okay with the characters looking like them and hearing about their personal lives and values and opinions and thoughts and so forth. That's great.
Right.
But if I'm reading a story about Young Justice, or I'm reading, let's be honest, I'm reading a story about Teen Titans, and it's a reboot. I want Beast Boy to look like Beast Boy.
Right.
I want Raven to look like Raven. I want them to look like the characters I'm used to. Instead, they now look just like the writers who are writing the stories. And then you end up learning that there's a relationship between 2 different writers that ends up in the book.
Right.
You end up finding out what their beliefs are, what their beliefs aren't, what they like, what they don't like.
Right.
And unfortunately, the characters that you've grown to love in Teen Titans have become totally different people.
Yeah.
And you're like, what the heck is this I'm reading?
Exactly. And then on top of that, every once in a while, there's some artwork that turns out to be the best part of the book. You may enjoy the story, but it's like, hey, they put a lot of into the drawings, just wish the story was better. And there are times where the art looks like chicken scratch, and you don't even know how they got the job. Plus the uninteresting story.
I'm not Starfire.
Thank goodness for that.
Is it Gotham High?
Yes, Gotham High.
Yes, those right there.
You wonder how these get to print. So many errors. You can't tell who's who.
You're talking about errors. Artemis Fowl, graphic novels, Disney with the 10 pages all the same, never corrected.
Right? And every copy being exactly like that, and you don't get a refund.
Well, we know it's not a self-insert, but we were talking about errors, so if you brought that up, you had to mention that. But yeah, you want to be able to recognize characters you've grown to love over the decades, and we're talking decades with a lot of the Marvel and DC characters.
Mostly, yes.
And they've had reboots like the New 52, and they keep trying to make these reboots and change the entire franchise, which doesn't make any sense when you've got a franchise that's successful and popular and people are loving the characters, and suddenly someone new comes in and goes, I don't want this. We're going to make all this line up with what I like and what I believe. And my first question is, forgive me, how the hell did you even get to be in charge of the department if you don't agree with, or if you don't even know any of the characters that you're making the changes for? A lot of times you'll read an interview, or you hear them being interviewed, and you hear these people say they can't stand comics. It's like, then what are you doing in this freaking business?
Right? And then there's even one where we read a reboot of Super Sons. It was a totally different take. It was taking place where climate change happened and the people were living in another city because everything was flooding, and there was flooders and non-flooders. It was like a weird little scenario they had. And they had Damian Wayne still, and they had John Kent still as kids. And they were trying to recreate some of the stories but told in a different setting. And it was kind of like an okay story. We got to an interview with the man who wrote it, and we were wondering, why was Damian changed from being Artemis Fowl, he was a superhero, to he was acting like a whiny kid, like he was younger than 10 or 12, like he was 7. Well, we learned from the author that not only has he never really read comics until they gave him some, they said, okay, that's great, and they said it was okay, they were happy that he didn't no comics or read DC because they wanted it to be all new, so they were happy to hire him.
Well, they got what they paid for.
And then he hated Damien because he didn't like he was a child assassin and had swords and blowing things up, and they said that was really bad for a child to be acting like this, so they wanted him to act like a real kid in real life, so he toned him down to being a spoiled brat. And from then on, Damien was just unreadable in that story the whole time. It was a whole different character. And this is the mindset now of a lot of the writers. They either, as you said, cannot stand comics, or they don't read comics, or they look through them and then they say, how do people get into these? I fall asleep on this. How do you stand this for years? And they openly insult the people they're supposed to be buying it, like they're expecting them to change their minds in an instant after they read, like, yeah, these comics suck, so I'm not going to read your book anymore.
And that's another big difference between East versus West. In East manga, they strive to have not only a genre for every like or type of content someone wants to read,
right,
but they also listen to what the readers are saying. They try to accommodate their taste. If they want to change, most of the time they listen to it and they actually change it. But that's rare that you're having the people saying, look, I don't like how you're doing this, change to this. They also try to adapt to how the audience is feeling about characters. For example, we'll use Tiger and Bunny. Tiger and Bunny, in the beginning, Barnaby was supposed to be the favorite and Kotetsu was the joke. And Kotetsu clearly in the real world had tons of fans, including us. Barnaby too, we love Barnaby, but Kotetsu was our favorite, and that was included for a whole lot of people around the world. Mm-hmm. So what did they do in one of the movies they put out? Instead of making him the joke like he'd been, they decided to acknowledge that there were people who were fans of Kotetsu or Wild Tiger and loved him.
Exactly.
That doesn't happen here. It's like you like who we say you like, or you're not getting jacked. That's it. Too bad.
And companies like Disney is really infamous for that. It happens in television, movies, and books, but Disney is really infamous for doing that. They will have characters that they don't plan on being the favorite, and like they pick one that they predict is going to be the favorite. You can tell by the way they're written or how many episodes they get. And I can say, for an example, like Barian. He was not meant to be a favorite. They kind of were expecting Cassandra because she was the cool bad girl type person that they thought people would like. It ended up being Varian, even after he temporarily turned bad. Varian ended up being the most favorite part of Tangled. Then they got rid of him in the second season altogether and didn't bring him up. They pretend he didn't exist. Third season, you thought he was going to stay bad, and they didn't acknowledge the character really at all until they had to. And when they wanted the character to get a spin-off series, they rejected it and were trying to get Cassandra a series. And not saying there are any fans of Cassandra, right, but the difference in the fandom for specific characters is obvious. And it's like they're ignoring what they're telling you they want more of in favor of, you're just going to take what we made because we're not going to go and make something else. We already worked on this.
It's like, you're not going to tell us what you like. We're going to tell you what you like.
Right.
And you better take it. And that's unfortunately how it is here. Now, it hasn't been that way all the time. And I'm sure it hasn't been perfect in the West with comics, you know, the entire time. You've had the commission that would make
the Comics Authority.
Thank you. Put inappropriate things in, and then you've had things happen throughout the decade. So it hasn't been perfect. But right now, it's the worst it's ever been because you're making comics that people don't want to read or buy.
And it's on a grand scale. And the
sales have plummeted. And then manga, which is fantastic at accommodating its audience, is selling through the roof. And then in the West, the companies that are putting out DC, Marvel, Image, and so forth, they're upset. Well, guess what? Listen to us.
Yes.
We're telling you what we want. We're telling you what we love, what we like, what we want to see. And you totally just ignore everything that your audience is saying. And as long as you continue to ignore your audience, you're not getting jack squat. You're going to keep failing. You're going to keep plummeting. And there's no joy in this for us. We're in the U.S. We love comics. We have a giant comic collection that we'll we plan on sharing with you this summer. But we love comics. But these comics are not any of the current ones. We haven't bought comics in probably about 2 years or more because it's just crap that's being put out. And if we do find a comic that's an older comic, well, heaven forbid, if Half Price has it, oh, you like this comic? It sold for $4. Well, now you're going to pay $400. So you don't buy it.
It's like, what? It's like it's vintage now.
It's like, what the heck is wrong with you here? What in the heck is wrong with you? Do you want a business or do you not want a business? Do you love what you do or you hate it? If you had it, get the hell out and put somebody else there that loves it and wants to do it. It's so simple. Don't do the job.
Exactly.
Give it to someone else.
And that's the next thing we need to touch on. Now, before we get to this, please know we have no problem with having more variety and diverse characters in comics.
Absolutely.
If they're written to blend in with everyone else, just like when new characters introduced to TV shows, we're perfectly fine with having more diverse characters. But the problem is with comics now and now television that they're so heavy on it. It's in your face. It's like, okay, we want to see more Asian characters in here. We want to see more Latinx characters in here. Okay, great. But they put them in. But then you see another segment of people being pushed out, and they're mostly Caucasian. And a lot of times now, you're barely seeing Caucasian characters in the comics because they're either to the side, not important, or they're the villains who get taken out.
And here's the problem for me with that. Been reading comics for decades. Maybe I should not believe my lying eyes. But for a lot of the comics, there were people of color in them. Maybe not as many as there are now, and it's great that there's more, absolutely positively. But anytime you focus more on one group than anyone else, it doesn't turn out well. Regardless of whom the group is, there's got to be diversity throughout. There's got to be a whole blend of characters, diversities, personalities, views, outtakes, values. It's got to be a blend.
Exactly.
And anytime there's all of one thing, it just doesn't work out well.
Yes.
And I think, for me, when I think back on Marvel and Stan Lee and characters that he either wrote himself or commissioned to be written by others or chose to focus on, he understood that.
Yeah.
And if you go back and look on some of those older comics, especially a few years before he died, he began branching out and trying to have some anime characters and doing a manga and an anime series and writing about Zodiac characters and all these. He grew to understand, yes, I know you love these characters, but okay, let me put some more diversity in here. And it appears that he never did it to offend.
Right.
He did it to be inclusionary and to show that no matter what the character looks like, or the nationality of the character, or the skin color of the character, or the gender identity of the character, every one of these people could be a hero. And because that person has this hero core, everyone can love the character, not just the characters that look like them.
Exactly.
I have a vast love of different characters, whether it's in manga, anime, comics, or superhero movies. And they all don't look alike.
Right.
I just love what I love. I like the characters that I like. And they tend to have a core that tends to be the same, where there's a love for people and they generally want to help and they're good guys and so forth. But to me, I like having a variety of different characters to look at and to watch the movies and to read the comics or to read the manga and just see how all over the world, how people view life and view people and show that love. I know that sounds strange, but that's the way I read the things that I read.
That's what they're meant to be.
And that's what I want. I don't want someone telling me, well, if you like a vast amount of people, you like a vast, multi-diverse character, something's wrong with you. What?
It's like that's the opposite of what you're telling me you want me to have.
It's the opposite of what's happening in the East, and that is why in the East they're outselling everything here I don't even want to go into percentages because it's embarrassing.
And
It's just really kicking the West's butt.
yeah.
And I don't know if it's going to end soon. I don't know if people who are in positions in DC or Marvel or any of the other places, independent, are going to wake up. Now, you've got some people that are actually making individual comics on their own, getting kickstarted,
Yes.
as well as shows like Critical Role and what's his name?
Young Ripper.
Young Ripper, and lots of other people are taking that step and that initiative, and they're giving people what they want. And nobody's looking at the characters and going, oh, does this character look like me? How does this character look? What are they? You're not looking
Yeah.
at that. Is it a good story? Is it interesting? Does it have the action I want? Are they at the core superheroes, good people? They're flawed, but at the core, they're for good and they do good. That's what you want to see.
Right.
That's it. And when you want to make characters, and yes, I'm going to bring this up, that are perfect to start out with, and they have no flaws, and they don't grow, and they don't learn anything, and no one can help them be better, well, they're uninteresting, and who the heck wants to read about it or see the movie?
Exactly. And one more thing we definitely need to bring up is the state of comics and manga in a whole. And slowly some things are going away. We're not seeing it as much as before, where every single thing you watched and read had it. We are getting a little bit of change is slowly coming in. But we wondered, why is it like with the big two, DC and Marvel, why are they still writing this even though people aren't really buying? The sales are going down every time. Well, we saw a video thanks to another YouTuber that showed a clip with several of the artists and writers that are currently writing the books and who have been really making all of these changes to where all of the characters are exactly like themselves. And they actually brought that up in their interview/panel. And one of them stated that they are aware that people are not buying the books. And they're aware that people are saying they do not like the stories, the self-inserts, the opinions that are very degrading towards people who love comics and manga and making fun of them. They said that they do not care because they believe that they're waiting for society as a whole and for comics and pop culture to change like a pendulum. And once it swings the direction where their mindset becomes everyone else's mindset, the sales will skyrocket, all the comics will sell, there'll be heroes, there'll be stars in the comic book industry, and they're just going to keep writing, and they're going to wait for that time to come when all of the books sell.
And that sounds like a fantasy in itself.
It
It sounds like a fantasy in itself. So, this is my final comment. We all are free, thank God, to do what we want.
Yes.
So, if they want to keep having that attitude, they can keep having it, and the sales will keep plummeting. We also, thank goodness, are free to read what we want and to watch what we want. So we'll continue not to watch those things that you make that are insulting,
Right.
degrading, that don't even represent characters that we know and love, and you're not even writing or creating characters that are new and fresh, that we can get excited about seeing something different or learning to love a new character that didn't exist before. And they can just keep doing this, and they can keep astronomically raising the prices of comics, where kids can't even buy it with their allowance, and where if you want to collect, as I mentioned, a comic that sold for $4 now sells for $400. Just keep doing that, and you'll keep plummeting, and you'll keep getting nowhere.
Yes.
And again, that's you guys' freedom to do. Knock yourselves out.
Yeah.
What am I going to do? I'm going to continue to support and buy from those creators that give me what I want, whether they be in the East and it be manga and anime, or whether it be in the West and be comics and animation.
Yes.
I would like it to be more, but right now, unfortunately, it's not.
Right. And it
But,
really,
you know, there is always hope.
you're right. And it really doesn't help when the people that you are aiming to buy or watch or read your stuff, you tell them they're stupid for reading comics, they're stupid for reading manga, liking anime characters, liking male characters, liking story and plot, and you're an idiot that you're an adult still doing it, and you're an adult still writing it. So what am I supposed to do with that information?
Yeah, and if they don't like their jobs, give it to someone else. It's just so cheesy. So sleazy,
cheesy.
so easy, so cheesy. Let's just put whatever
it's
works.
cheesy, yes.
And I'll keep doing what I like and love. I'll keep reading what I like and love. I'll keep watching what I like and love. And I hope that everyone who's watching and listening does the same. We don't know if you agree with us or not, but let us know in the comments below. Whatever your opinion is, we really would love to hear it. And if you disagree, tell us why. We'd love to hear your fresh outtake on what's going on. Do you think there is a difference between East and West self-insertion?
Yes.
Let us know in the comments below.
Right, and if you haven't already, subscribe for updates and weekly videos of your favorite anime series, anime shows, and all things animation.
And last but not least, if you have learned or read any new Western comics that we should definitely take a look out for and invest in, let us know in the comments below. We're always looking for great Western content in comics, and if you know of some, let us know.
Right. So, thank you so much for watching.
Yes, we appreciate you so much, and if you want us to check out your channel, leave the name below, or better yet, leave a link. We'll check it out and support you as well. We are so grateful for you, and we're so grateful for being able to have a platform to share our thoughts with you.
Yes.
And have you share yours back as well.
Yes, so thank you so much for watching. I'm Rascal Entertainment.
And I'm Mom Entertainment.
Have a toontastic day.
Peace.